cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, good evening and welcome back for the final show of this Thursday and the end of April. And then we're jumping into May. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that we're already at the end of April. And we are on number 51 already for Tea Time. That's right, 4 months, 51 Tea Times. Miss Liz is on a roll this year. Last year did 58. This year I'm doing 156. So watch out for that. But tonight I'm joined with Claudia Braun. And she's coming in from the United States, and she's a coach, a healer, a mentor, yoga instructor, and a certified emotional freedom practitioner. We're going to talk about a lot of healing, a lot of inner work tonight. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab a glass of wine, grab a beer, whatever you would like to do. Miss Liz doesn't ask you to drink tea when you're on tea time. Enjoy yourselves and sit back. If you have any questions or comments, throw them into the comment box or send them directly to Miss Liz in her DM and I will get those questions out. But before we get started, we're going to do all the good stuff. We're going to do disclaimers and bios, and then we're going to get Claudia in here and she's going to spill you a good TEA tonight. And then we're going to wrap up April and we're going to jump into May. So we got a lot of things happening tonight. So let's get started. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's live tea time show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any tea time show hosted by Miss Liz, myself, is always brought forward in good faith. However, it may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All tea time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that the show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect that and I'll see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all tea times this year are on Thursday, unless it's a rescheduled tea time, then it'll be on Monday or Tuesday. So now I want to get Claudia in here, but I'm just going to give you a little short intro to who Claudia Braun is. So Claudia Braun has over 20 years in the holistic industry, and her passion is assisting clients to reprioritize, there goes my tongue, I'm having trouble tonight, guys, themselves so they can love themselves into the wholeness. There's a lot of frustration at the knowing what to do, but not quite being able to do it, or consistently not feeling good and not sure why. As a coach, guide, and mentor, I lovingly support, inspire, and create a judgment-free space where I challenge my clients to move beyond what they have known to being able to experience transformation to live their best selves. So more on Claudia. You can check it out on Miss Liz's Facebook page. I'm going to get Claudia in here. I'm going to grab a sip of tea. Miss Liz's tongue. I am having trouble. No worries. Miss Liz is fine. But I am having trouble speaking in the last few days. So I'll get Claudia in here and we're going to spill a good old TEA. So welcome, Claudia.
Thank you for having me, Miss Liz. I'm so glad to be here.
So let's get into Claudia. Who was Claudia as a little girl and who is she now?
It's interesting that you asked me that. I was actually earlier today, I was at a funeral of a friend of mine, and friend of mine's actually mother, who was my best friend when I was 2 years old. She moved in next door to us. And I was thinking about that experience of being a little girl. I'm the youngest of 4 children. And I was very fortunate because this lady, who is the mother of my best friend, took me in to do whatever they did. I was included, and I'm the youngest by many years. So my siblings had already grown. So I did a lot of stuff on my own. But when my friend moved in, suddenly I had sort of another family and I had more experiences to participate in. So I have been very fortunate in my life. As a little kid, I was very much on my own. So I was pretty independent, but also a creative. And so I feel really lucky that I had that time to explore being on my own. And I was actually talking to my mom about this, just how much freedom we grew up with. Just being able to walk around the neighborhood and walking to friends and all kinds of stuff. And I was a big walker. I love to walk. I love to do art. And that stuff still continues today. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you.
It really means a lot when my guests still come when they have other things, because that just shows how strong we really truly are, right? We have our own things that we're dealing with, but we still show up. And I want to thank you for that, Claudia.
My absolute pleasure. Yeah. Yeah. You're so welcome.
So, Claudia, what got you into what you're doing today?
So it's interesting. I was raised to be in a much more professional business path so I went that route for a while, and but I found it to be quite lacking. And when I was in my probably 20s or so, late 20s, early 30s, I thought I need to do something else, and I went to social work school, and I discovered just the importance of kind of getting more real. And the business world for me had been much more of a do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And going to social work school was sort of not the thing I was supposed to be doing. And I found that I really loved it. I thrived. I loved the stories. I loved the honesty. I loved the digging into people's stories. I loved the being able to share what's really going on. And that really opened a door for me. And while I was in social work school, I discovered that wasn't exactly my path. It was way too traditional for me. And I found out that I was actually much more alternative in my thinking. And I had been receiving, I don't know if you're familiar with something called shiatsu massage.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So shiatsu is a Japanese massage. It's based on the same principles as acupuncture. And it's a combination of acupressure and stretching. And I had been receiving this work, and the person I was receiving the treatments from, I just decided, you know what, I'd actually rather do that, because what she was talking about really resonated with me, and why social work school wasn't a best fit was that in shiatsu, it's based on Chinese medicine principles that the body always wants to be in a state of health. And shiatsu, like acupuncture, is stimulating the body's ability to heal itself. And I completely resonated with that, even though it was a new concept to me. It just intuitively, I like that idea. So that sent me on a path to go to shiatsu school, and I trained to be a shiatsu practitioner. And I had a practice for many years. And I loved it because I found that we live in a very cerebral world where we're in our heads a lot.
Yeah.
And what shiatsu did was it brings people into their body. And from that place, when you can come to more stillness, and shiatsu is helping create more balance in the body, many conditions heal themselves. And I loved that, since I'm not a big medical medicine person. But as I was working with these people one-on-one, I would be hearing their stories. And so I got very interested in their stories and what they were doing, what wasn't working. And it just started to really resonate with me that I still had an interest in the social work aspect of things. But the shiatsu, where it was a more holistic approach, was really my approach.
Yeah.
And that led me into this path of coaching. And I coach from a holistic place, that we're not just, people that think about things. We have an emotional experience. We have a spiritual experience. And I bring all of that into my work, because I know that the more that becomes alive and balanced, the better everybody feels.
For the viewers out there that don't know what holistic is, could you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, so holistic, there's a term that's called integrative medicine. And maybe many people don't know about integrative medicine. So allopathic medicine is what most of us are familiar with in this Western culture, I would say, versus Eastern culture. Whereas we go to a doctor, we get medication, and we're supposed to get better. That's traditional allopathic medicine. But in integrative medicine, or more holistic, means that you take into consideration, what's the person's lifestyle like? What's their stress level like? How's their emotional state? How's their spiritual state? Do they think that they have connection to something bigger than them, or do they think everything relies on them? Are they carrying trauma from their childhood? Are they having challenging, difficult relationships with their neighbors? All those things. What do they eat? I mean, all of that is a holistic approach. And that to me resonated, because I knew, because I was somebody who had kind of a messed up relationship with eating. And as I healed my relationship with eating and food, I know my life came more into balance. And so a lot of the work that I do with my clients is really helping them find, the first session, we look at the areas of their life. We look at 10 different areas of their life. And we look at, how happy are they? How satisfied are they? Not my idea of satisfied, but their idea of satisfied. And then we look at, what are the key areas, 2 or 3 areas that they really want to focus on. And then that's the focus of our work. But I know that when we do it, it's called the circle. It's called the circle of life exercise. When you look at that, my clients love it. They say, oh my gosh, that was such an amazing exercise, because it's like a snapshot of where you're at in this moment.
Oh,
But it's not where you're going to be. It's just where you are. It's like, when people do they call mammogram baseline. It's like that. You're doing a baseline. Where are you now? And so what we do is we use that framework as the foundation of where we're going over the next months while we work together, which is what makes coaching different from therapy, because people sort of get confused. Coaching, therapy is the same thing, especially when we bring up emotional issues. The difference is that coaching is very goal-oriented. I did therapy. I have nothing against it. But in therapy, you can talk about an issue for years and never really make progress, and get stuck in that story and be angry at that person and the situation and how bad your life is and what was wrong. But that is not empowering. And what I love about coaching, and really resonates with me and my style, is that it's much more goal-oriented. It's like, okay, I know I don't feel good, but I don't know why. Well, let's find out. Let's look at these areas of your life that aren't working. Oh, I work 70 hours a week. Oh, I never take time for myself. Oh, I eat food out of a box. Oh, I don't ever take it. Like those things are contributing. And instead of it being overwhelming when you're coaching, you're like, okay, let's make it incremental. Let's do small things. And my philosophy is, small incremental changes create a lifetime of change. And that's what it is. So that's how I got into it. And that's the difference between a holistic approach, as to, if you're in therapy, you can talk about an issue for a long, long time, but you don't really get out of the story. And I did that. I did stay in my story for a long time, but didn't create happiness.
Well, and we were talking about this before we went live, right? Is we all have a story. We have a choice, right? Do we stay in that or do we move on? You know, and we all have to take that step and that choice. We stay here or we stay here, you know? And I really look forward to talking to a bunch of coaches and healers and mentors because I want the difference out there. And you have explained that difference, Claudia, where the therapist, you're just repeating.
Yeah.
And where a coach is coaching you to move forward, move out
Indeed.
of it, you know, stop staying in the story and get on the story. You know, it's like a tea bag. You put the tea bag in the water and you just let it sit. It gets stale, you know. Put the tea bag in, take it out, and put it on the side of the saucer. It's still on the cup. It's still there, but it's moved on. It's moved forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And it reminds me, I was listening to somebody and they were talking about like when a rocket takes off, it drops a part of the rocket so that it can get light because it's lighter and takes off. And it's just like your tea bag, as we drop those sandbags that are holding us back, those stories, those old worn out stories that we keep repeating, we get lighter so we can move on.
I like that. Drop the sandbags. I like that.
Okay.
That would make a cool T-shirt, Claudia. Drop the sandbags.
All right, I expect I'm going to see that, Miss Liz.
Drop the sandbags. Drop the T.
I want credit for that.
There you go, right? But that might be a new brand for you, Claudia. Like coming out for coaching, you know, drop the sandbags, join Claudia for a workshop. You know,
I love it.
Sometimes it's right in front of us, but we don't realize it until, you know, other people listen and other people say, hey, this is cool. I like that statement. You know, Claudia, this is all you. You drop those sandbags and you know, I think that would be a cool T-shirt for coaching.
I love it. Thank you for that. Thanks for highlighting that. Yeah.
I really like when we drop those nuggets, right? We drop those tools and we drop the tips. You know, it's like spilling the tea. We make a mess, but to make a mess, we have to clean the mess, right?
That's right.
So we have to find, how do we clean the mess? We bring the rag, we bring the mop, there's different solutions,
That's
right? So that's similar to what you're doing with your coaching and mentoring is you're giving your clients tools and tidbits and you're saying, here, which one do you want?
It's so true. It's so true. And similarly to, you know, a similar analogy is that not every strategy is going to work for every situation.
Right.
So, right, it's like for some you need a sponge, for some you need a rag, for some you need paper towel. You know, I mean, it's just like you need to.
It depends on what the pot is, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's the same thing. And I have, you know, a plethora of tools because I know every person, every situation, everybody responds differently. So it's really important to have options.
So how does it work if somebody wanted to go and see you, Claudia? Like, is it a 10-week program? Is it a year program? Or do you do retreats? Like, how does this work for your services?
Yeah. So we usually start with I usually start with an intro session, right? So I get to know somebody initially and just see, am I the right fit for you? So somebody says, yeah, I love what you're about. I want to hire you. So then I have a 12-week coaching program that we start with. Because 12 weeks, we're all a little bit commitment phobic, I would say. Maybe she can help me. Maybe she can't. I think she can. I'm not sure. 12 weeks is an easy commitment for most of us. And so that's where we start. And during that time, like I said, the first session is a really deep dive. You know, it's kind of like, as you say, you know, spill your tea. It's the same thing. It's like, I am really getting into somebody's story very deeply. And we work together usually at least a couple hours. I work virtually just like this. I work over Zoom. We record the session so everything can be played back. But we go into a deep dive as to, we do the circle of life. We look at what's working, what's not working. We get clear about somebody's why. Why do they want to do this? Because there are times when anyone knows, like, I'm an ex-smoker. I changed my eating habits. I used to drink. I mean, there were so many habits I had that did not work in my life. But there's times along the way where it gets hard. So if you don't have a good why, it's very easy to quit.
Yeah.
And so I really go deep with people. So it's like, what's your why? What's going to keep pulling you forward when you don't like this? You're frustrated. You thought you'd be here, but you're only here. So, and I would say that, it's why what I do works. And it's why my clients really, I love working with my clients and my clients love working with me because they feel better as a result of the work we're doing. And they feel progress when they have not been able to make it before because they didn't have a strong enough feeling. The commitment wasn't deep enough. So during that time, we really create a strong why.
And Claudia, we have a question here for you. Do you feel that your social work help you do coaching?
I do. I would say that, I'm an empathic person anyways. But I would say that the empathy from my social work schooling, and I thank you, the person, for the question. And all of my clients would say they never feel judged. So I would say that it helps me to listen in a different way. And I'd say that in addition to the social work is that I'm a very strong spiritual practice. I have a very strong meditation practice, and I've been on this path for 30 years. So that for me allows me to be very present with my clients and listen deeply. And through the listening process, I really hear what's going on. And when someone is in their story, they can't see the forest through the trees. And when you have somebody who's very present with you, it's much easier to get like that thing that you have not been able to get clear on for years.
Yeah.
So I would say the social work and really my spiritual practice is a huge element in my coaching success, I would say.
Well, social work is working with people, right? So you have to have some skills of working with individuals. And social work is also listening to stories and understanding the situation. So it's almost similar, but it's just a different avenue, right? A different flow. So coaching's over here, social work is over here, but the two of them together makes it even stronger.
I would agree. And what comes up is a different angle, because the empowerment that you get with the coaching is really life-changing. And it's not to say that some people don't have life-changing experiences in therapy. My experience is that it only could take me so far. And that's what I see. I've worked with many clients who have been in therapy, and then they come with me and they say, I'm hitting things I never hit when I was in therapy. Because of the level of depth that we go. And there's a line that says a teacher cannot take you any further than they've been. And if you have a teacher who's gone through the depths that you've gone through and further on the other side of that, they can take you much further. And that's my experience with the work that we do together, that I do with my clients.
Well, you said that your workshops are 12 weeks, right? So after 12 weeks, what happens? Do you refer them to a different service, or do they move on? Do they have tools and tips after the 12 weeks?
Everybody's different. I have some clients who say, you know what, I am so good, I got this. I have some clients who say, you know what, I love the results I've gotten. I want to keep working together because we know in 12 weeks we can get so far. And they say, oh my God, I love where I'm at now. I can't imagine where I'm going to be in 12 weeks more. So I have people who stay with me longer. And it just allows us to go deeper. So it's never the end. I've had people who have worked with me for 12 weeks. They said they were good, and then they came back because they wanted to do more work together. So I see it, it's different for every person, I would say. Like I said, I've had people who've worked with me for years because they really love the growth they're getting, and it's just so many areas of their life are changing. And then I have some people who've worked with me for 3 months, 6 months. It also depends on where somebody's at in their life when they come to me. Some people who really feel really stuck and they've got a lot of things they want to work on, it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I've got somebody who comes in and is just like, I just want to handle this one area of my life. It's going to go a lot faster. So it really depends.
So we have another question for you here. The questions are just coming in.
That's great.
And Miss Liz only reads the questions that are related to the discussion. I appreciate everyone else sending other questions, but I'm only going to put the questions out that relate to the discussion. So we have a question here. What is an emotional freedom practitioner?
Yeah, so an emotional freedom practitioner, it also stands for EFT, and it's people might also know it as tapping.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a certified EFT practitioner, which means that I'm certified to use tapping as a technique to assist people to move through challenges. And EFT, or emotional freedom technique, is a very interesting tool. It was created by a chiropractor, actually, to assist PTSD patients, post-traumatic stress disorder people. And it's a very powerful tool. And what I like about it is that it's fast. It really assists people to get results in a very short period of time. So it really, like, use for example. So sometimes a client come in with they're like obsessed about their boss. I had a client who was like she got a new boss, and she was really obsessed about her boss, that she was concerned that this boss was going to like ruin everything for her. She had a good situation going, but the person made her nervous. She was afraid she was not going to be able to get the things right with her. And so what we did was we used that situation and we did tapping through it to clear the anxiety that she was feeling and to clear the story. And so what tapping does, it brings what's unconscious conscious. And it's through a repetition of words and also using acupressure points. There are specific points that you use around the face and hands that help to, with the combination of the story and the points, the tapping, you're literally tapping points, you're actually reprogramming neurological patterns so that you can change the story, which is why you can, as I said earlier, you can repeat a story, but the story's still there. You go to bed with it. You wake up with it. You can't stop thinking about it. What tapping does is you bring the story out. You bring it out. You bring the pain out. You bring the irritation out. You bring the embarrassing thoughts, the embarrassing feelings, everything that you're thinking about. I'm jealous of my neighbor. I don't like that she is prettier than me. I don't like her clothes. All the things that we don't want to say, but you bring it out. It's gone. So it brings what we hold on to, which creates more kind of a trauma in the body, because we keep injuring ourselves by repeating an old story. When we clear that story, oh, it's gone. I don't remember what it was. Now what? So EFT is a really powerful tool that I use with my clients when they're in a situation that they're stuck in, or if somebody's trying to make healthy choices. They don't know why they keep stopping for a donut. They don't know why they keep stopping for a cup of coffee. It doesn't agree with their digestive system, whatever it is.
Well, those are bad habits, right? And you work with that as well. You take the old and bring into the new, right?
That's right. And habits can be super hard to change, which is why, people make New Year's resolution year after year after year, the same one. Why doesn't it change?
Yeah.
Because we're programmed to keep doing the same thing.
Yeah. I Miss Liz does not make resolutions. I make goals. January 1st is goals. Yeah, it really changes the mindset. When you take something in, because resolutions, you're already self-destructing yourself. You're already putting yourself up for failure, because you're like, oh, well, if I do it, right, it's a resolution. If it doesn't happen, it's okay.
Right.
But when you set goals, you're actually, no, we have to do it. We have steps to take, and we have to take those hard steps. Even if we're tired and we're in pain, we got to move forward. And that's what healing is about, is we have to move forward through the pain. And it's like tapping the pain away, right? I'm going to come up with some really good t-shirts for Claudia that she's going to have her own clothing line. That's what Miss is just going to create a clothing line for Claudia.
Oh, I
But
love it.
I feel that, you know, it's related to tea, what you do. It's so related to tea so much, because tea, we pack it in, right? We put all of the leaves in to give the flavor. But when that bag rips, we get frustrated. We're like, why did it rip, right? Oh, like now it's going to make a mess. So it's like our life, right? We're that tea bag. And when we rip, we're like, oh, I can't do this. I can't, you know? So I'm going to make Claudia look at tea a different way. Going to be Miss Liz. I'm never going to look at tea the same.
And it's funny because I'm a big tea drinker. So I love the analogy. I love the analogy.
I think it's a good time to ask you, Claudia, if I give you the word tea, what would you give me? What would you serve me tonight?
So a big part of my own life, and really, which really was a jumping off place for my clients to do the work I do with my clients, is transformation. I'm committed to transformation for myself and supporting my clients as well. So I would say number one is transformation. And I would say empowerment, because all of the steps that I offer to my clients and that they take part in for their life are about empowerment. And the A is for awareness, because I talk to my clients a lot about there's something called the 3-step process to change, and it's awareness, acceptance, action. And awareness, a lot of times we're unconscious to what we're doing. And so, which is why tapping is so powerful, is that you're bringing the unconscious conscious. So awareness is key. If we're not, we can go unconscious for years about doing something. Maybe we say something and it's so subtle, we don't even hear it. And then someone says, do you realize that every time you say you're going to do something, you say, well, I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to do this. It's like, interesting. You say that every time you're going to do something. So awareness is key. When we become aware that every time we're going to start something new, we tell ourselves, I'm not very good at this. What are we programming ourselves to be?
We're already self-destructing ourselves.
Indeed. Indeed. So to me, awareness is so essential to the work I do with my clients, to the work I do for myself. It's like really bringing the unconscious conscious, and it's so subtle. We're all programmed from a very young age and we don't even realize it. And so the more we get onto our programming, could be from our parents, could be from our school, could be from our religious training, whatever it is, but we may not even realize it's not working for us anymore. But we're so programmed, we've been doing it for the last 20, 30, 40, whatever. So awareness is really important to me.
Have you ever had a client come up to you and say, Claudia, I can't do it because it's too uncomfortable?
I've had clients say that it's hard and that it's challenging. And I've had clients say that I don't know if I can, but I don't know if anyone has really said it's too uncomfortable to do it. And they might have, but they might have done it anyways. Because a lot of the work we do is we deal with the uncomfortable, which you know. Yep. We deal with the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable.
And that's why I asked that question, because a lot of us are scared of the uncomfort, right?
Right.
And that's why we stay in the systems and the patterns and the cycles, because it's comfort. Right. That's what we're used to. So when we have to get uncomfortable and we have to say, you know what, we got to rip that Band-Aid off and we got to just do something different. It's going to hurt, but it's going to help us in the end. But that ripping the Band-Aid is that step that we fear the most.
It's so true. I remember when I was early on in my own healing journey, and I was starting to have to more speak up for myself, because I had been sort of somebody who was willing to go along, kind of do things, didn't really consider, did I really want to do things? I just was kind of like saying yes to stuff. And I remember when I first started, and this is a lot of the work I do with my own clients as well, when I first started saying, no, I don't want to. And I didn't really give an excuse. I just like, I don't want to. So hard, because that's not how I was raised to be. It's not how I was taught it was okay, but I had to give somebody a long explanation why I don't want to do it. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, it was a little uncomfortable, but I moved through it. And my clients say the same thing, that in itself is so empowering when you do that which is uncomfortable. And then you're like, oh my God. Nobody, like nothing happened. It all went fine. Nobody even asked me. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
So Claudia, we have a question here. Can you explain a little bit more on the 3 steps that you spoke of a few minutes ago?
Awareness, acceptance, action. Yes. Okay. So like I said, if you want to make change, you have to be aware of what is going on. And denial is something that we unconsciously live with. We just don't see it. We don't, as I talk about the elephant in the living room, there may be something we just walk around all the time. We're not aware that we, leave piles of stuff all around us. We're just not aware of it because it's been like that for so long. Maybe we were raised like that. Maybe, it's like we just don't see it. So we first have to, it's just an example. We first have to have the awareness. Oh my gosh, I have piles of stuff all around me. Then it's like, oh, awareness. I have piles of stuff all around me. Okay. And what usually we want to do when we notice something is we either jump into judgment about ourselves. What is wrong with me? I have piles of stuff. I must be I can't keep my house clean. I'm cluttered. I got stuff everywhere. That's terrible. So we either jump into judgment or we try to fix it, but it doesn't stay. And so the second step is awareness. The second step is acceptance. Then we go into, oh, okay, I guess I have piles. I think I'm comfortable with my piles. They make me feel kind of safe. I got stuff around me. I feel like I got my stuff. I was raised with having a lot of stuff around me. Okay. So acceptance is so important. And so many times I have done this to myself. My clients have done it where we want to jump over acceptance. Okay, I know what it is. I'm just going to fix it. But we land flat on our face if we don't go to acceptance. And so acceptance really is, it's just like, I accept what is, no judgment. I just accept it. And then we can take action. Then we can go, okay, what are the steps I need to take? I need to look at the fact that I feel a lot of safety with this, but actually it's in my way. I'm having to walk around this stuff all the time. I can't find stuff, so it's not helping me. So that is the important part of this 3-step process that we need to look at. Does that help?
I think so. We have another question here. I've never heard of this syndrome, so I'm not even sure if it is a syndrome. But what is the blindfold syndrome?
I don't know.
I've never heard of it. So thanks for the question. I'm going to have to do some research myself. I'm wondering if that's just not accepting because of blindfold, where they're blinded, so you don't see it.
Maybe right? Maybe that's like saying, denial is not a river in the Nile. So perhaps that's it. The blindfold, maybe you just don't look and you jump. I don't know. You could go many directions here. It's not a term I'm familiar with or a process I'm familiar with.
This person is saying the blindfold syndrome is usually diagnosed with hoarders.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I'm going to have to do some research on that. And that's one topic Miss Liz hasn't had on Tea Time is hoarders. So thank you for that. And you always learn something new, right? From the guests, from the audience.
And what I know is that tapping is a powerful technique for assisting people for changing patterns. So, and the more intense it is, it may take more than, it takes a little bit longer, which is like moving through PTSD takes longer than one session. It's definitely a process of helping people. When Gary Craig is the founder of EFT, when he founded it, he was working with people who had been in Vietnam, and they were replaying these stories. And he was able to get these people finally to a place where they could sleep. The stories weren't coming up anymore. But it's a process. And it would be the same thing with hoarding, because there is so much connected with that. But again, it's the awareness, the acceptance action, and using tapping could be a very powerful technique to explore. So, but thank you for that, because I'm not familiar with it either.
Yeah, me neither. It's the first time I've heard it. So,
Isn't that exciting?
right. So we both learned something new. Uh,
Indeed.
Same person wants to know if you've ever worked with a hoarder.
No. Are they a hoarder? Do they have hoarding issues?
I'm not sure, but they're asking a lot of questions
Yeah.
about hoarding.
Well, I just also use this as an example of having piles all around you. But it's a thing for people. There's no question. We are very attached to our stuff. And so it is really part of the process of EFT is desensitizing ourselves, like, so that instead of this thing being this thing I need to hold on to, it becomes just a thing. It doesn't have the story. It doesn't have the power over me. It doesn't own me in the same way. And that is the power of using EFT, which I love. I haven't had people that it hasn't worked on, but hoarding is not something that I have had an experience with, so I can't really speak to it.
So, Claudia, I also noticed when I did some research on you, you do channeling. Can you share a little bit on what that is?
Channeling. Yeah, so channeling is tapping into, we all have it. We're all intuitive beings, some of us more so than others. And channeling is something where you tap into you tap into a deeper energy, which connects you to the energies that are around us. And I am able to tap into that higher energy and use that to bring forth guidance for people during my sessions. And so so what happens is that, so we have an ego, right?
Yep.
And the more attached we are to our ego, the more we can be in control and not wanting to release things, more perfectionistic. And the opportunity with channeling is to really let go a little bit more of the ego so that I can tap into higher intelligence, is what I would say. And it gives me the energies. Everybody taps into different energies when they're channeling. For me, what comes through me is more of a very loving force, a very caring force, and a very joyful force that really is assisting humanity. Really, their goal and the intelligence is really assisting humanity and the beings that I work with to connect into that aspect of themselves as well. Because when we get caught up in our everyday world, we can really lose the connection of the joy of the creative nature of who we are. And that is my experience of when I am channeling. It's a very joyful, loving experience, and it allows that energy to be translated to my clients as well.
I kind of like that, removing the ego, because we do have some people that have big egos, and they'll argue till they're blue in the face instead of listening, of just releasing a little bit of that ego. Have you worked with any clients that were like, nope, you're not doing this, like it's not happening?
Well, Miss Liz, those people do not hire me.
Well, we're gonna get rid of the ego. There's another t-shirt there.
I mean, we need a healthy ego. That's the truth.
Yes.
We need a healthy ego that protects us, that, has our, that, wants us to be safe in the world, reminds us to, pay attention. But a tempered ego is what I would say. There's a line that that the ego is easing God out.
Yeah.
So I would say being able to temper one's ego. And the truth is, the people who hire me are people who want to change. And they're aware that what their life is not as good as it could be. And they see that there are things that they're not doing as well as they could, and they just keep getting in their own way. We don't mean to self-sabotage, but we do.
Yeah, we do.
When we have these patterns that we've learned that have protected us, they're not so easy to let go of, even though it seems like, well, it should be, but they're not. And so coaching somebody who says, I want to change. I've tried so many ways on my own to, whether it's, I go negative so fast to myself. I hit overwhelm and I just get caught up in not taking care of myself. And as a result, I have no energy. I don't feel good. Everything feels like a struggle. I don't mean to be that way, but I just don't seem to be able to change it. And I need somebody to assist me. And so to me, that's the person who has tamed their ego enough that there's a willingness to ask for help, because nobody would hire me if they're not willing to ask for help and ask for assistance.
Well, I think that's a good key point too, right? Is we need to ask for help, and it does take some people sometimes, a lot to ask for help, because maybe they feel that they're going to be judged, or the shame or the stigma, Um, we get that a lot with fathers, and that where they want to ask for help and they're like, nope, can't do it, man of the house, like there's a lot put on our men. Have you worked with any males
Yeah, I've
clients?
worked with men. Yeah, I would agree with you. I've worked with men in all different stages, in graduate school, in working for a company, being a CEO of a company. I've worked with people all along the spectrum, um, and I would say that they have different challenges than women do. Their thinking process is a little bit different, um, and there's, I mean, there's a bit of a role conformity that men have. I mean, women have as well, but it's just a bit different. And so I appreciate the differences. And again, I know that anybody who wants to change can change. But it can be tricky, because especially when somebody is, the men I've worked with, not always, they weren't used to sharing their story in the same way. Women are more used to, you might run into a woman in a bathroom and you know her whole story by the time you leave,
Right. It's like, I just wanted to go to the washroom.
Right? I know you come out and like, oh, I
We're
know that lady. And they're
exchanging
like,
phone numbers and call me.
right? Yeah. And they're like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, she just told me. I don't know. We were chatting and that's what happened. Men are less likely to do that. Maybe there's some, but not the men that I know. And most of the men that I've experienced, I mean, for them to share their story as intimately as they are with me is not that familiar or that common to them. But it's very appreciated. And it takes a certain kind of person who's willing to say, I could use some help.
Yeah. I want to get into your colors and your one word right now, Claudia. So I asked you what your favorite color was, and you gave me the color green. Why green?
Green is growth. Green is spring. Green is renewal. I love green. I love plants, and I love varieties of green. And it's funny because when I was a kid, I really didn't like green, because the only green I remember was like Kelly green, and that's not the color green that I particularly like, But I like rich greens, and like I said, I'm a big plant person, and so I love all the shades of green plants. And yeah, green is a happy color for me.
I really like that renewal for green.
Mm.
I've never thought of green as renewal, but the grass, the beginning of the grass, the seeds and
Yeah,
growing, right? And the
seedlings.
weeds, even the weeds, they're
Mhm.
beautiful.
They
We
are.
need these weeds in order to give us something to pull out, and take the stress away, because weeding and gardening really does help as well.
Oh, so very much. Yeah. I mean, it gives me so much joy to see the little, I've been planting some seeds, and it gives me so much joy to see the little heads pop up. And so, yeah, I very much like green.
So, are you a big gardener?
You know what? I am a container gardener, and I do. I was at the farmers market last year, and I bought this little tomato plant, and it grew like 6 feet tall. And I was like so proud of my tomato plant. I love to garden. I'm kind of a novice gardener, I would say, but I find it to be super fun. So nothing more thrilling to me than going outside and eating vegetables that you've grown. I love it.
Right?
Are you?
It's like picking the produce that you grew, right? It's the magic of seeing it grow as
Oh,
well.
yeah, yeah. So you're a gardener too?
Oh, I love flowers. I love planting the seeds and then they all come up and I'm like, oh, that's such a pretty baby. And then I talk to my plants, I talk to my flowers, I talk to my fruit, my veggies. I give everything and that because I feel that it needs love, right? When we add love to our food and we add love to our flowers and plants, we're actually giving back to the universe.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it adds more health to your body too.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have a good conversation, it doesn't argue back with you. So I asked you one word to describe yourself, Claudia, and you gave me the word inspiring. Why inspiring?
Mm. So I have been told by friends and clients of mine that when they talk to me, they feel inspired, and they feel their own inspiration. So I feel like inspiring is who I want to be. It's what I want to be. I want to be inspired in life. I want to inspire others. I want to be an inspiration. Um, so that's my why about that.
Yeah. We have a question here. Can you give me 5 grounding tools? Ooh, that's a
5
good
grounding
one.
tools.
That's a good one.
All right. Well, truly, I would say gardening is a grounding tool for me. So I truly believe getting your hands in the dirt, getting your feet in the dirt, extremely grounding. Go outside, take your shoes off, go walk in the ground. There's something called literally grounding, and that's exactly what it is. You lay in the ground. Some people say do it do it naked. I mean, the more you've got bare body touching the ground, the more it grounds you. And it is a thing. Actually, you can look it up, grounding. There are grounding mats. I actually have one, and it helps to ground your energy. So that's one for sure. Walk in the forest. That's two. Go walk in the forest. Feel the energy of the trees around you. So grounding. If you take your shoes off, even better. 3, I would say for me, and I would highly recommend to my clients, is to meditate, to sit in meditation. And I would say that that's kind of I'll use 2 on that, because meditation is 1. You can just do a silent meditation, or you could do a guided meditation. Something that I do and I teach is called conscious relaxation. It's also in yoga called yoga nidra. And that is also a very grounding experience. And what that does is it takes you through the cycle of the body. It kind of takes you to different points along the body, and it's making you more conscious. It's called conscious awake. They call it like a conscious. It's a yogic sleep, a conscious sleep. So I call it conscious relaxation. It's also called yoga nidra. And I would say EFT, tapping, super grounding, because once you do tapping, you're brought out of your mind and you're brought back into your body. I think that's 5.
Well, thank you so much for that, Claudia.
You're so
I'm
welcome.
noticing as you're sharing, you have a lot of circles in your coaching and mentoring.
Oh,
Because
yes.
the circle of life and then the circle pattern, there's a lot of circles. Is there a reason why the circles?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of my as you notice, I'm wearing a circle. I have 2 circles that I wear. And really, this is one of them, which actually was given to me when I was a baby by my grandmother. It was given to my and the reason why a circle is that our growth is continuous. We continue to grow. And you think about, they talk about growth is like an onion. There are layers to your growth. It's a circle. It's never ending. You stop growing, you're dead. Like, it's over. But your growth is just, you are constantly evolving, you are constantly growing. And I also say the circle is that we are all connected. So a circle has no hard edges. So the circle is we're all connected. We're all connected in this circle here. And yes, and the circle of life is that, again, it's the wheel. It's all things along the spectrum. And as you're along the spectrum, you're growing. So I would say that the theme really is growth. And to me, the circle is an aspect of that. Yeah.
So have you ever done like any drawing or scribbling of circles to help with any kind of treatment
That's interesting. Me, myself, or my clients?
for you or your clients?
I'm a doodler. I don't know about you, but
I
I'm a
am.
doodler. Yeah.
My girls here.
I'm a doodler, and I do draw, and circles are a big thing. I do I just keep going circle, circle, circle. Actually, it's interesting you even mentioned that, because I actually had watercolors is something that I play with, and I had watercolor pencils that I did, and the whole thing was just circles. So circles are a thing for me. You are correct. That was very perceptive of you, Miss Liz. Circles are a thing.
Yeah, I pay attention, and I kind of sit back and listen, and I let the questions come in, and then I'm like, okay, that's a circle. This is a circle. That's so I see the circles, but it's really important because there's no corners in a circle.
That's right.
So there's room to grow. And it's like you said, like the onion peeling away the pain,
That's
you
right.
know? I'm never going to look at an onion the same way. You know, you're never going to look at tea the same way. I'm never going to look at an onion the same way. You know, it's just a way that sometimes we need to hear those stories. We need to hear from others in
That's
order
right.
to open the circle, in
That's
order
right.
to open the mind and change the mindset.
That's right.
So we have one final question, and I'm going to get some final words from you, and then we're going to wrap up. And then the hour has just flown by tonight.
It has flown by, Miss Liz. You're very good at what you do, and thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, well, it was an honor to have you. I've learned some stuff, and I've learned some from the audience. It's a night of growing and learning. So the last question I have for you, Claudia, is when you're doing your coaching and your healing and mentoring, what do you get back for yourself?
Oh, what a beautiful question. I love what I do. I can't speak more highly of the work, of my gratitude for the work I get to do. It is an absolute privilege to work with my clients. So I have an Instagram account, and I just had posted yesterday, I think it was, a testimonial from a client of mine. And I have so much joy working with my clients. It's like, they say, what's your dharma? This is my dharma. This is my calling. My calling is to assist people. And when I see my clients soaring, happy, my clients like going on this vacation, and we were both saying, you are in the best place to travel than you have ever been in your life. And we've worked together for some time, and I know her quite well, and she knows me very well. And it's a big joy. It gives me so much joy and pleasure to do what I get to. I truly, like I said, I feel like it's a privilege that somebody lets me into their life so intimately, to know every detail, things they would never tell anybody else. And frequently they say, I don't even tell my husband this. That is an honor to me. And I respect it. I'm grateful for it. I don't take it lightly. So that is just the best reward ever that I have for the work I do. I'm so thankful, actually.
And the reason that I wanted to ask that question is because I want the viewers and listeners out there, and the ones that will listen to the replay, share this tea time, because there's so many golden nuggets in here. There's so many, there's lots of laughter, there's lots of messages, there's lots of, little tidbits, and there's a lot of spill tea in this tea time tonight. So share this tea time. But Claudia, I asked you that question because sometimes we don't understand the gratitude of our clients and our customers. We don't give them enough appreciation and saying, thank you for coming into my life. Thank you for sitting at my table, and I feel that it's deeply important that we always say thank you to who comes to us, because there's a reason that they come to us, right?
I couldn't agree more. I say it often to my clients. Whenever they say, oh my gosh, they give me credit for the work, and I think, no, I thank you for that. And you've done the work, and what a gift for me to be able to assist you.
So Claudia, if anybody wanted to reach you, how could they reach you?
Yes. So I have a couple of things. I have a there's a couple of ways actually that you can connect with me. Is that you can reach me through, you have on your screen, heal.claudia-braun.com. And that will actually tap you into my 4-step healing process. And it's a free download. You can access it like that. Or you can also, I would like to, anyone who's, kind of in a place of, really could use some help, I would be happy to offer you a 45-minute no-fee session where we could just do a little deep dive and see kind of what your challenges are, and then see if you feel like you could use some help going forward. And all you need to do for that is just to contact me at my website, and I will reach back to you, and we will schedule a time. And there's actually a calendar on my website that you can go to. It's on my page, and it's Claudia-Braun, Claudia-Braun, BRAUN.com, and go to the contact page, and there is a calendar on there, and you can schedule a 45-minute session where we could get to know each other, and I can walk you through a process, and then you can decide if you need some support going forward.
Well, thank you so much. And it was an honor to have you on Tea Time. Sometimes it's just nice to sit and have a cup of tea and share, the difference that we all bring to the table. So I want to thank you, Claudia, for that. And I want to thank all the supporters and the audience that has tuned in tonight. If you're checking it out and you're watching a replay, push #replay and let me know where you're tuning in from. Also, check out Miss Liz's website, because now you can register for these tea times, because Miss Liz is doing updates all the time. So check out the website, and you can actually start to register for these tea times. If you want to have any questions or you want to reach out to the guests, you can also check that out on the websites, and check out the podcast, because as soon as it's done, it goes on the website. So if you miss Claudia's Tea Time, you can check it out on the podcast, on the website at www.misslizsteatimes.com. And again, Claudia, thank you so much. And we are going to start.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.